Hello, Rodrigo. I'm a little early. Yes, because there's been so many technical fucking problems lately that I figured I might as well get a little early on here just in case I have to fucking do everything twice. But hello, Pepe. Um, I'm presuming you can hear me. Kadaver Krok from Iran. Cool. Cadaver Crow. All right. Cool. All right. So I think everybody can hear me okay. It's supposed to start in a few minutes, but I'm here. Hey, Anthony. All right. So I heard there was a skip. Did I freeze or some shit? Um, Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Internet, because I'm sitting in my studio, so the internet here it might be a little fucking shady. So if there's a freeze or something like that, just hang in there and hopefully I'll be back, you know. Humboldt. I don't know, Chris. I don't know what that is. Carl. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, Rui. Shit. I don't know what happened there. Internet glitch. Let's just hope it doesn't happen again. Um, I I basically I have my studio. I rent my studio in a building where there's a bunch of other people, different artists and musicians as well. So there might be other people online at the same time. We share the same connection, so sometimes it gets a little, you know, bottlenecked. Um, but you know, let's hope it works out. Hello from Prague. All right, cool. Hernandez. Yes, I agree. I am the best. Martin from Halmstad, my old hometown. Hey, man. Cool. Infernal Lord Sebastian. All right, hello. I am the master. Master of bullshit. All right, so it's scheduled to start in a couple of minutes, but I guess we started. You know, why wait? So, how do you even pronounce that place in Canada, man? Saskatchewan? Saskatchewan? That's like up north or something, even for Canada. Hello, Alex. Um, Northern California. All right, Chris. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Again, I'm just going to keep saying it. Hello from Mexico, Nuremberg, Yorkshire, Portugal, all over. Cool. Um, Timu, I guess that's the first question. Did I ever perform with other bands before Emperor? Hello, Caroline. I'm fine, thank you. I had a couple of bands before that. They didn't last too long. You know, the first one was a death metal band, like kind of like a death grind band from back in 1990, and we were called Rupturance, which was kind of like me being a fan of Abhorrence from Finland. So I used the last portion of their band name, and I found the word rupture in one of the Carcass lyrics because that was a big deal back in those days. You know, Carcass was a fucking great band back then, and they always were. But for a 15-year-old kid back then, it was massive. Hey David, how's it? Get back to work, man. Um, so yeah, we did a couple of like sort of competitions with rupturance, you know, where bands compete. It's the kind of thing you do when you're a teenager. And one of those we did with I think Embryonic was playing in one of those as well, which was Ishan and Thomas, you know, Samot's band before they started what became Emperor. Those shows were they were just one song each, man. You know, so it wasn't there's not a lot to talk about. Just four kids experienced as fuck, you know, and we had corpse paint on the second show though, actually, and we all put it on, and then I think everyone else in the band pushed it out just before we went on stage, and they washed it back off. So I was the only one with makeup on for that one show. I think it was filmed. I just don't have the footage. That'll be like 32 years ago or something. From Bolivia, cool. Sarah, all right. Christina from Greece, Venezuela. Wow, a lot of South American stuff here. That is great. You can stay, David, if you want to. You just have to work twice as hard afterwards, you know. So I probably, if I miss questions or comments, it's because I'm doing this one publicly. So there's quite a few more people than normal. So comments are kind of rushing by. So I'm just gonna grab whatever I see and start talking about. And someone's asking me about my opinion of Euronymous. My honest opinion about him was he was a fucking great guy. Um, he treated people that he respected with respect. That's my experience with him, and he had fantastic musical taste even back in '93. You know, before most people even accepted that it was possible to listen to anything beyond black metal. He was listening to stuff like Roger Waters and Pink Floyd. You know, all of that Berlin School stuff that I talk about all the time. Um, you know, and just experimental weird shit. So you know, in addition to obviously, you know, sort of old school metal and things like that. So he had a really eclectic, interesting musical taste, even from back then when nobody else was even contemplating that. So no, I always had a good time with him. He was always cool, you know. And you have to remember this was in the middle of the sort of black metal insanity, you know, where our personalities were fairly dark and isolated in the sense that we didn't exactly function like normal people. So I mean, all of that said, you know, I mean, he was an intense, extreme person, but everybody was at the time. From Venice, Italy, cool. Yeah. Will you remix? Yeah, you think Brian May is gonna send me the fucking stems to remix Queen? Yeah, that's realistic. I would if he did. Um, Andrew, I can't legally re-record Starry 8 or The Smell of Rain or anything. It's in the contract with Earache where it says like I can't legally do it. It's um it's one of those preventive clauses where labels probably from experience they know that if a band is unhappy they can go back and re-record and put the album out elsewhere. So they put a stop to that. Um, you know, which is it's a very uncool thing to put into a contract if you ask me, but it's there, and I signed it. So yeah, I can't really do that. I can't see your name, but I'm looking forward to going to Russia too. I mean, you know, Omicron now, of course, is a new whole new Corona party going on. So we'll just have it's fucked up, man. We're just gonna have to see how this plays out. Nobody knows how sick you get yet. We just know that it's more infectious than anything else, I think. So yeah, it's just one fun fucking thing after another, you know. So right now everything's back up in here. It looked good for a while now. It's not looking so good. No, Dolly, I never met Quorthon. That's a little before my time in the sense that, you know, when Quorthon was around, I mean, I was alive and I was into Bathory, but you know, I was a teenager back in those days, back in like, you know, late 80s and I mean in the early 80s when Quorthon was putting out his early stuff, I was a kid. I was a fucking 7, 8 years old. So there was never really an option for me to meet him, which is too bad. I mean, that would have been cool. Would have been great to be able to have met him, you know, because he's such an icon, you know. But it was just never to be. It's a little irritating in the sense that, you know, I live pretty close to Oslo. He was from the Stockholm area, I think, and it's not even a day's drive away. So we always were close geographically when you think about it. Um, Anthony, as far as collaborating with a former scene my artist, I mean, never say never. I haven't talked to anybody. The closest that I ever got to that was when I reconnected with Johnny, from the Slaughter Natives a few years back, and um, he mastered the first version of the Perfectly Defect album. He mastered that. He mastered the vinyl version of The Unraveling Mind, and also The Great Deceiver. So if you look at those records and look at the credits, you'll find Yauni. So I spent the weekend at his house, and hanging out, drinking beer, mastering music. So that was great. But we didn't make music together. Um, I wouldn't be against it, man. I mean, a lot of those guys are fucking creative and cool. So it's a nice idea. It's just down to time. Um, Dali, if you heard our version of Call from the Grave, um, I didn't hear his Call from the Grave. I'm sorry. Um, I had to say that. If his spirit was there, I mean, I don't know. It's a nice idea. Andrea's music, Amanda. Yeah, I always liked it. I always thought that she was early when it came down to that. Maybe I'm using the wrong expression, but the sort of pagan inspired music. I mean, she was doing that as far back as I can remember knowing her, and I got to know her 93, 94. You know, and she was always into that stuff, and we're talking like a decade or more before everybody else. Before that fucking Viking series, and everybody just jumped on the fucking bandwagon of doing that shit. So she was a pioneer, and I always thought her music was great. I think I was a little bit envious because her music was very organic. She had proper people playing it, whereas I always programmed my music. So sometimes I felt like shit, man. I mean, she sounds more organic than I do, but of course, I pulled myself together, and it's a different thing. I make music programming and then using samples and things like that, and she had actual people. It's just two different worlds, but I always respected her greatly. Morocco, cool, awesome. Majdi Desi, I don't know. I'm sorry, don't know how to pronounce it here in these. Cool, from Bulgaria. Thank you for being around, Benjamin. Thank you, appreciate it. Rui, are you considering doing a live stream? I mean, for live shows? Um, I don't know, man. I mean, I thought it was fun to do Emperor because I didn't have to worry about anything. Well, my job was just turning up with a bass guitar and knowing the songs, which I did. Okay. It's a lot of fucking work. And quite frankly, a Mortis show. I don't know if you've been to one. Is so much about the atmosphere and the vibes and just the experience. So I think as two-dimensional as a flat screen TV becomes, it just I don't know if it translates well. I'm just worried that it wouldn't be the best experience that you could have. So for that reason, I've been reserved against it. But I guess if this is going to be the new reality, we're never getting back on the fucking road or something, or it's going to be years, then maybe I'll have to reconsider. But I've stayed away from it for those reasons up until now. Antoinette, yeah, it's real. It's not that long right now. It only goes like I don't know. You can't even see it. It's a little bit further down from the screen. I cut off a whole lot of it a couple of months ago because it just gets too long. My hair grows really fast. And with dreadlocks, you never lose any hair. It just stays there. So it gets long and thick. And I mean, it's been down to my fucking knees sometimes. It's ridiculous. So right now I cut it down. That's actually I like that look better too. When it gets too long, it just no offense to hippies, but I look like a hippie, and that's not what I really want to do. Colombia, cool. Never been there. We were talking about it when went over to South America, and when was that? In the fall of 2018, we were discussing Colombia. For some reason, that show never happened there, which was too bad. That would have been nice. Band called Sidewalk is a fantastic song, man. Marcin, one of my favorite songs of all time. It is weird that it comes from Tangerine Dream because it's almost like a progressive song with synthesizers and Tangerine Dream, of course, at the time were very electronic. Um, and they made Cyclone, which was like a complete left field type of record, but it's absolutely fantastic in all kinds of ways. Nicaragua, that's cool too. Never been there. Uh, Hello from Scotland. Hello, Addy. What kind of new music? All kinds of stuff. I mean, I've been talking a lot about this project that I've had going now for a year and a half or so with Stefan Groth from Apothegma Berserk, and it started out as this sort of Berlin School inspired thing, and I think it's evolved beyond that now. It's still heavily inspired by a lot of that old Tangerine Dream and those types of things, especially the sort of late 70s, early 80s Berlin School stuff. But it's just gone beyond that now. I think it's turning into something. It's that and more, and it we just I just keep creating music for it. So that's happening, and I got a bunch of other stuff laying around. Stylistically, I would kind of describe it as somewhere, at least for now. It sounds like something in between The Smell of Rain and The Great Deceiver. So I don't know if that maybe that's a little disappointing to Dungeon Synth fans, but I'm not going to stay in one camp, doing the same thing over and over again. I might return to that and do another one of those or something inspired by it. But I like to keep moving. I like to try out all kinds of stuff, and I think my history kind of proves that. Hello, Gabriel, Alessandro, Spirit of Conquest. Yeah, thank you. That was a cool song. That was from the Stargate, and that was around the time when I started thinking about maybe I should learn how to program stuff properly. The Stargate is the last album that was recorded sort of freehand, which means that you just record it down. You don't do any quantization or nothing is on grid. There's no click track. There's no nothing. So you can hear that on all of my records up until and including the Stargate, that is kind of loose, a little shaky, because I was never a good player. That was never my big strength. My strength was in being creative and having all these visions. But after that, I started teaching myself how to program, so the music got much tighter. I think the Stargate could have benefited from that, but that never happened. It's still a cool record. Greeting from Liverpool, Caroline to Brazil, the US of A, Brian Smith, US of A. Ramley Splintered. I actually don't know them. I would have to check them out. Yeah, we would love to return to Portugal at some point. One day. Hello, Rafael from Spain, and Desiree, Netherlands. Yeah, that Mayhem tour is just infamous at this point for being moved around. One day it's going to happen. I mean, the dates for April and May are still standing. I think everybody's just on their toes now, just trying to figure out how bad this Omicron thing is going to affect everything. I hope we know more soon. At this point, I'm just going with the flow. If that tour gets moved again, at least it means I'll be spending way more time in the studio, so more music will be made, or existing music will be improved upon and eventually released. So there's always something good coming out of it, but I think at this point we all need a fucking tour to happen. Slowly losing our minds, I think. My favorite book, again, I can't see your name because it's in Russian letters. Night World is a great book by F. Paul Wilson in the United States. It's kind of like it's the last book in a series of 5 or 6 books, which is in rough terms, the plot is that the world is attacked by a very, very dark and evil force that nobody really understands, and it's from a different dimension. And these huge holes appear all over the world, and every night, grimmer and grimmer creatures come out of it and kill people in terrible ways. So it's a really cool fucking book, and the sun disappears slowly. So in the end, there is no longer any sun, and the Earth will be ruled by all these monsters. So it's hell on earth, basically. It's a fucking awesome book. I must have read it like 5 times. Story behind the Stargate album cover. In my mind, it looked cool. Then in reality, it looks kind of dumb. It was sort of like it was supposed to be. My idea of that was of me sort of entering through a gate. It didn't look anywhere near like that. In my mind, it looked fantastic. Then it didn't really work out. So that's the one sleeve I think that if I had a chance, I would have done it differently today. It just looks a little silly. That's how it is. Sydney Sudan. Hello. Um, all right, let's see here. Moroccan superfan. The smell of rain. Well, yeah, the COVID situation is. I think it's slowly killing music, live music. I mean, that's not a big surprise to anybody, is it? We all know that it's fucked up. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I think that if I was going to make any kind of comment in that direction, I would probably just say that I'm taking the vaccines. It's a choice for people, but I understand if people don't want to do it. It's a personal choice. You might have health issues and shit like that. But I think we all just want it to go away so we can fucking go back to normal, right? You know, that's the bottom line. Yeah. Amanda and Stargate album. Oh, you're commenting on that. Oh, I'm glad you like it. It's the cool thing about the Stargate cover is, and you can't really see it, and you won't notice unless I tell you, which is if you look at the wings there's a universe within the bat wings. So there's a universe within that, which is kind of a cool little thing. And if you look at my eyes, and you can't really see it, but there are solar eclipses that we took from photos of the universe. So that was kind of cool. Oh, someone's able to post text in red. I guess Giannis is some kind of computer genius. Jane Krasilikova. I butchered that name, right? My favorite music outside of metal and rock. I mean, I don't know. I always talk about Berlin School and Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze and Kraftwerk, and that's definitely very very high on the list. Um, Beyond that, I mean, I enjoy some of the stuff by artists like Johnny Cash. I think was great at times. Other times, not so much to my taste, but um, stuff like that. Experimental weird shit, industrial music like Old Skinny Puppy. Enigma. I love Enigma. Um, KMFDM. I listened to that a lot back in the day. Stuff like that. Anything that has good songs, to be honest with you. So. Um, I can even sit down and listen to like a couple of fucking Elvis Presley tunes. Hey, Sam. Waving. Parasite God. Pain. Someone mentioned Pain. I'm not paying attention to anything. I spend all my time in my studio unless I'm at work or at home. Um, I didn't even know Pain existed. We did a show with them ages and ages ago, and they were cool dudes. But I thought they split up. Um, it tells you how much I fucking, how much attention I fucking pay. Um, as far as the thing about the Watcher in the water from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, no, no, that's the first time anybody brought that up. I'd never really thought about that, but you know, um, it's probably from the book, right? Because I wrote the Cosmic Keys to My Creations in Time. I wrote that lyric in the summer of 1992. Um, Together with like 11 other lyrics, I think. Two of them were used for Emperor, and then I got kicked out of Emperor, and I brought my lyrics with me. We were going to make a concept record based upon all those lyrics, and that obviously didn't happen because we did the mini LP, and then I was fired. So I brought all those lyrics with me, and that will lay the foundation for the whole era one period of Mortiis. But I was a big fan of Lord of the Rings, obviously, but I didn't really think about. I wasn't really inspired by any sort of phrases or poems or anything that might have been inside of that book. It was all in my head at the time. I was kind of a crazy 17-year-old kid, and I I was very, very inspired for several years, really, to write that kind of stuff, and it just it was just flowing out of me, you know. So no, the truth is, I didn't even think about Lord of the Rings, at least for that part. I mean, I was definitely inspired by certain other things like that, the High Tower, or as I call it, in my you know mythology. That was obviously inspired by the tower in Lord of the Rings. Uh, Blix was in the back of my head when I designed the mask, but not that much. She's got a big old crooked nose. I didn't fucking go for that. So yeah. Oh, Morrison. Yeah, Tanyan Dream is very important. It was Tanyan Dream and Klaus Schulze were the ones that showed me when I discovered their '70s music, which was always like this one song on every each side of the LP. They showed me that you could break the rules. You didn't have to stick to these 3.5, 4 minute long songs. You can make them as long as you fucking wanted. Who's going to stop you? So that's what I did, and I got that totally and completely from Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze. Um, but I went one step further. When I made my demo, "Song of a Long Forgotten Ghost," I made a song that lasted for a fucking hour. I decided I was gonna make the most monotonous, drony, fucking, not necessarily unlistenable, but you know, it was never intended to be easy to listen to. It was never intended to be pleasurable. It was just gonna be dark, long, and dragged out. And I think I succeeded. Um, I'm sitting in Norway broadcasting this. The girl with the Russian name asked. I'm across town from my house. I'm in my studio. You can't really see it because I put all the lights out because it looks lame otherwise. So yeah, I'm in Norway. It's out in the fortified town of Fredrikstad. I'm just outside of the fortified town, um, and in kind of like an industrial area. I'm actually right next to a fucking factory. Ivan, cool. I'm glad to hear you like that record. I'm very proud of the Great Deceiver. That's the one that probably killed the band. It took so long to make, and I fired people during the process. And it was at the end of it. We started out as a band with merchandise deals and record deals and everything. And by the time we were done, it was me and the guitar player, and I had fired fucking everybody, got rid of everybody from my life, and it was necessary. It's not that doesn't mean I didn't like some of the people, but um, we just weren't right for each other anymore. It just wasn't working out, so we had to split. But that's never a pleasurable experience. Having to tell somebody they're not in the band anymore. But it had to be done. Spoken word samples. Miko, I'm not sure what songs you refer to. I think probably documentaries because I was still into that world. I was still kind of ripping off Skinny Puppy in a sense where they back in the mid '80s, they did a lot of that sort of spoken word stuff, like from documentaries and movies, and I copied that. So um, that probably reflected on the Smell of Rain. Um, yeah, Ivan. Yeah, you know the story. Yeah, I've talked about that before. I don't eat food, Antoinette. I only eat babies. I mean QAnon. How do you pronounce that? QAnon. Yeah. I totally believe it. No, no, I do not. Oh wait, Democrats eat babies. I'm sorry. And then QAnon are the people that think so. Never mind. I just eat babies. Um, yeah, Leviathan, Ishan. I'm not familiar with that. All I know is I gave Ishan the name Thou Shalt Suffer. It was actually my second band before Emperor was I suggested we call ourselves Thou Shalt Suffer, but I was voted down by the other members. So Ishan got it. Hercules, I don't know yet. I'm working on several records, I think. It feels like it. I'm just working on a fuck ton of music, and then we're just gonna have to see what ends up on what record. Like I was mentioning before, and in the beginning of this conversation, I mean, I got this project with Stefan Groth from a particular Berserk, and we're just inching our way towards completion of that record, and I don't quite know when that is. But it's gonna be fucking awesome. And Anthony, have you ever tried a stinky fish in a can? Um, no, I haven't tried any food that you make. Timu, how much did you went to concerts in the early 90s? You just want to talk about black metal all the time. I went and saw Dark Throne and those guys, Mayhem. Yeah, I saw all those guys. It was cool. Nobody killed each other. There's no scoop. Jeremy, yes, we were on pretty good terms. It was weird when you get fired from a band. It's going to be a bit a little weird for a while, but I mean that it'll sort of you know even itself out. As the years went by. We're good friends now. It's all good. Um, I don't really know what to say apart from that. It was a quite a long time we didn't really talk. Not because we weren't friends or anything, but simply because we were all fucking busy. I mean, I was putting out like 2 albums a year. I lived in Sweden, so I was super busy, and they were doing their thing. Being emperor and selling a shitload of records. Um, and I don't know if they were touring that much. I can't remember. I know, Faust went to prison, obviously, so they had Trim got involved, and then there was like a big revolving door of bassists, I think. So I don't know. I heard some stories about them being out playing, but I'm not sure if they did it that much. Tamu, in the early Mortiis video, always used the same music backgrounds. No, it changed as the records came out. I would vary the songs to perform, obviously. So it's been varying throughout the 90s. Yeah. Thank you, Nocturnal Inferno. Inferno. Brazil, Alberto. Cool. Glad to see you. Let me see if I can backtrack a little bit, if that's possible. I feel like I'm missing a lot of. Oh, here we go. Hello from Poland. Paul, nice to see you here. Do you remember what drum machine you used on the record? Ivan, the thing about the Great Deceiver is probably a mix of um 10, 20 different drum machines. I mean, I use samples and I pull them all up into Battery. That's that drum sample program from Native Instruments. So there's a mix of that, and then there's other samples of real drums. It's every fucking time, and that on that record, all the drums, every kick, every snare will probably be a combination of 3 or 4 kick drums, 3 or 4 snare drums, using the attack of one and the sustain of the other just to create new sounds. Um, but to get the really big bottom end, like a boom shit, that's obviously the Roland, 808. I'm sure you know about that. And another one that sounds really sort of 80s and hard and kind of industrial is the R8. That's also Roland. So those two I've used quite a lot, and then just a lot of real drums just sampled and pitched down and just layered on, real drums layered with drum machines. So it's impossible for me to tell you that there's one machine. It's just a lot of machines. It's a fuckload of experimentation, really. You try and you fail 19 out of 20 times, and like on the 20th time, you realize, oh shit, something cool happened, and then you keep that. Um, so that was about it, for the Great Deceiver. And then, of course, the programming tricks. It's not even a trick. It's just what a pretty basic way to do it is you have to focus on the velocity to make it sound a little bit more sort of organic. Um, then you got to think about the pitch. The harder a drum gets hit, the louder or the higher the pitch goes. So you have to kind of teach yourself to program like that. You don't have to. You could do it like a Kraftwerk way, where it's just rigid and robotic. That's great too. But if you want to do stuff like I did on the Great Deceiver, then it sounds contradictory, but you want to program. You want to think a bit like a drummer when you program. So you get the programmed vibe, yet with the dynamics of an actual drummer. It's worth moving to Norway from Russia. Not right now. This place is so expensive now. Like our electricity is just through the roof. It's insanely expensive. And you can't go anywhere without road tolls. I mean, I had to pay, I think just my road toll expenses every month now are, we're looking at about 300 euros. That's just to be able to drive anywhere. And the electricity is probably going to be way more than that every month. So a lot of people in Norway are currently going broke, and our politicians are in trouble because they really fucked us. Um, so it's going to be an interesting time in Norway. I wouldn't move here to save my fucking life. I would move to Sweden or Denmark. Iceland is nice. Fabio, um, the outro, is that the sort of staccato type of stuff going on in the Loneliness thing? I haven't listened to that in a long time. Again, that is, if the ending is what I believe it is, it's a combination of a lot of stuff. I can't remember what synthesizer I used, but I do know that I sampled some weird. My parents had like an old violin hanging on their wall, and I remember I sampled just hitting it, so you got this sort of melodic but percussive tones, and I just sampled that a few times, and I used that as the melody at the end. Um, Several layers of that to make it a bigger sound, and then I put it through a big sort of chorus effect, and so it's got this sort of dissonant thing going on, and but that's it. It's the source sound is an old violin, um, used in a kind of percussive yet melodic way. Yvonne, yeah, I hope that made sense. Cool. Troll Hunter, Jonas. Do you mean the Norwegian movie? I actually loved it. I've seen it several times. I was surprised they were able to make such a good movie in Norway. Actually, it looks kind of real to me. And they made our prime minister at the time somehow say that Norway has trolls, which is quite fantastic. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Noah, my son. Yeah, they do say he looks like me. I hope he doesn't turn out like me. But yeah, he's a nice guy. All he cares about are video games. You know, we take him to drum practice, but his drum teacher says he's good, but I don't know if he's interested really. You know. But he's only 10, so we'll see. I'm gonna try backtracking again. I know I missed a lot of questions. Danny, Moonspell. Oh yeah, he wrote a thing with me at the time. Remember, I gave him a bomb threat. No, no. The thing with Moonspell, I forget the details now, but I think it was probably back when I was like a really shitty fucking black metal kid, and I was drawing swastikas and shit like that to shock people. You know, it was never political or anything like that. It was just like, what's the worst thing I can do? And it's usually the swastika, you know. And I can't remember if I did anything directly to them, but I do remember they were really pissed off at me. And I think someone told me, I can't recall if I ever had anything directly to do with them. But all of a sudden, I remember many years ago, I found myself in a situation where Moonspell hates me. Oh, oops, you know. So it was just like stupid kid stuff, you know. That's all it was. But I get the impression that they were pissed off for a long time. Um, I mean, I wasn't, you know, by the mid '90s, I couldn't have cared less. I mean, I was busy doing other things, listening to fucking Iggy Pop, you know, and shit like that. I was by that point, I was beyond black metal in the sense of my personality and things. I had kind of gone beyond that. Um, we did do a show together. They can't possibly have been that pissed off because I think in Mexico, was it 2002? We did a show with Moonspell, um, Tiamat, and Pain. And everybody were cool. I mean, Moonspell, the band seemed a bit reserved. They kind of kept to themselves. I don't know if that was because of me. I did say hello to them, and they said hello back, I think. So, and I was aware of the weird situation at the time, but I didn't think that much about it. So that was about it, man. I mean, I haven't heard much since then. Maybe they still fucking hate me. I mean, you know, if they want to put a lot of energy into that, then Okay. I can't quite see that question. I mean, if I'm, like I said, if I'm missing questions, feel free to just repeat them. What software do you use to perform your Dungeons in Live? Mostly it's been Ableton Live. Um, simply because it's a great program to trigger songs. So I mean that's I really don't have I can't speak Russian lady. Um, Live, yeah, I do enjoy Laibach, of course, and I always did try to tell people back in the 90s when Rammstein came around that if it wasn't for Laibach and Ministry, you wouldn't have Rammstein. I don't think anybody knew what I was talking about. I still feel that way. I like Rammstein, don't get me wrong. I just think that they owe so much to Laibach and to some degree Ministry. Um, the Sound of Music project from North Korea, I only saw parts of it on TV by accident. So that was switching channels and I saw that and it seemed so complicated and it seemed like such a pain in the ass what they were doing. I mean, it's admirable. I would have fucking not even started that kind of project. But I mean, then again, I mean, Laibach is appears to me to be a very ambitious project with pretty much everything that they do. Um, even though I guess it was by and large ran by a Norwegian guy, I think. So that's cool. It's nice to see that being a possibility to go to North Korea. I probably wouldn't be too keen on going there, even though I was going to go to China right before the pandemic hit, which of course got canceled. But it's not the same though. Of course. Jason's being hated is beautiful. I mean, it depends on why you're hated. I felt like it was the thing with Moonspell. I felt like they dragged it on too long. I thought it seemed like a waste of our energy to hate each other. I never hated them. I mean, I was just being a dickhead back in those days. It wasn't personal. Um, my favorite Pixies song. I have to admit, I haven't listened that much to Pixies. You should ask Stefan Groth from PAPAJUJU that. I think that's his favorite band, and I know Kurt Cobain was heavily into them. I've seen some Pixies records at record fairs, and I've been kind of wanting to buy them because the little I've heard, I really do like. But I wouldn't know the titles, so I couldn't tell you. A signed Mortiis vinyl with no, that's no chance. You have to go to a show to get that done. I mean, back in the day, I used to allow people to send me sleeves that I would sign and return. I just no time, absolutely no time. I'm sorry. I mean, at shows, I'm happy to do that, but that's the only way it's going to happen. I'm afraid. Michael, yeah, I love Zeppelin. I haven't listened to them in a while, um, except for No Quarter, which actually was a song that I listened to quite a lot not too long ago because the cool piano effects and the vocal effects. There's that really cool stuff going on in the beginning before the song gets going. That bubbly, warbly shit. And I think it's the filter of a what's that synthesizer called? Like the Synthy ACS or some shit, like some really old like space UFO dashboard looking thing that they ran a bunch of their stuff through, and it just got that really nice effect. As far as my tattoos, it's a bit of a secret. One of them is a magical text. I'm not really going to go further into it. Tristan, yeah, you should. Well, Nikki, my thoughts on touring America. I can't wait to go back. The last two tours I did, I had pretty much every day was a great experience. Just it's just touring now is fucking weird, right? Because of this fucking pandemic. But I want to go back as soon as possible. Best Wasp record. I always liked the first one the most, but that might be nostalgia because that was the one that I got when I was like 10 and that was more or less brand new. I remember when The Last Command came out, and The Last Command might actually technically and production wise possibly be the one that I like the most when I think about it, but I think the first one probably has stronger songs. and a cooler image, which is big for me. Amanda, I love the Amanda Glass. Yeah, I haven't listened to it in way too long, but that was something we were listening a lot to back in the black metal days, because her stuff was fucking insane, and we really connected with what we perceived as being a very dark atmosphere. I don't know if the Amanda Galas intended for that, if that was the way she saw it or heard it, but that's certainly the way we heard it. Um, and of course that insane singing, like what is like a 5 octave range. It was just unbelievable, the highs and the lows, and it was demonic to us. So of course we were going to love it. We were all blown away by it. I still have a whole bunch of her records back home. Yeah, Houses of the Holy. That's a great record. I have that. I mean, I have all the vinyl back home. I actually have the Led Zeppelin 2. I stole from my parents. So that pressing has been around. It's not an original, but it's probably been around since the early 70s. And my parents had a couple of cool records. I don't. They were never into rock, but they had friends who were into it, so they probably were inspired by them to buy Led Zeppelin. And then I think they had like, uh, they might have had like a couple like progressive rock records from Norway and stuff like that. And then Led Zeppelin in the middle of it. And I remember like my earliest memory, more or less, of music is me making my mom play what's that song? Is it A Whole Lot of Love or something like that? When there's a part where he just goes down into this echo. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it's from Led Zeppelin 2, from that actual album. And years later, I stole it from their collection. They never had a collection. They had a bunch of records, and that was it. But they had that one, and I took it. Have you ever heard Brian Smith Vocal Cache or Skullflower? No. I am such a fucking caveman at this point. I don't know what's going on in the world. I spend my time here working on my music. I go back home and, completely isolate myself. Um, as far as you, how important is playing live or more? Um, it did become quite important, from late 2017 when I was just going to do a couple of shows. Up until the pandemic hit, I mean, I was playing increasingly, frequently live, and after a while, it was just like one tour being booked after another, and shows and fucking all kinds of stuff. So it turned into a whole new lifestyle for me. I was on a plane every week going somewhere, and I enjoyed it. It was mostly fucking a lot of fun. So it did quickly turn into a big deal, and then it stopped. So now, but so for me, it's not a huge disaster that I'm that I'm not able, excuse me, that I'm not able to play live. I spent many years not playing live, holed up in the studio. So I'm back to doing that. So this is nothing new to me. Um, but that doesn't mean I'm enjoying not being allowed to play live. I think that sucks. Swans, yeah. I listened to that for a while, and that was cool. I mean, that's one project. What's his name? Michael Gira. Um, when I was listening to the really old Swans, I immediately realized where Godflesh got their ideas from. At least in my ears, to my ears, it sounded like shit. Godflesh must have really listened to Swans, or these Swans a lot. So they were early in sounding sort of an industrial crossover-ish. And I think it became more acoustic later on, they're more sort of subtle. But that was great too. I doubt McFarlane is going to make a Mortis figure. I'm not famous enough. It's got a lot to do with fucking money, this action figure thing. Wax Tracks, yeah, like Ministry and all of their side projects, Thousand Homo DJs, shit like that. Lard was of course on Yellow Biafra's label, Alternative Tentacles. I might as well have been on Wax Tracks. So I thought a lot of that was great. I think a lot of the late '80s, early '90s industrial is pretty cool. It's got a lot of that punk vibe to it, which I can really kind of connect with. So yeah, I got a bunch of those 12 inches back home. I don't know if Skinny Puppy was ever on Wax Tracks. I think they were on like Network and things like that. Nine Inch, of course, was Interscope and nothing. But yeah, Wax Strikes had a whole bunch of cool stuff. I think KMFDM put out a bunch of stuff there. Who revolutionized industrial music? I don't know. Throbbing Gristle? I don't know. I think Skinny Puppy and Front 342 did a good job, and they were early. And Skinny Puppy made that. In, in my words, I feel like they took what those 70s pioneers were doing into a somewhat more accessible field. Front 342 took it to the dance floor, I guess. I don't want to piss anybody off by saying that, but that's kind of what I feel like they did. And then Trent Reznor brought it to the masses. I don't think one person or band is behind all of that. I think it's like a cluster of happenings. Yeah, we used to listen to like Dead Can Dance a lot too. Lisa Gerard's voice, was absolutely unbelievable with the atmospheres and the thing that she was able to conjure up, and so that was on my tape player a lot. I mean, we used to tape trade back in the days, and I didn't have their LPs because they were on mute, and they were slightly difficult to find in Norway at that point. Same thing with Demon Galas. I think she was on mute as well. So those records weren't really that easy to find, but we loved them, even if we only had them on tape. That made it even more mysterious because we didn't know what they looked like. We didn't know what their albums looked like. We just had this really archaic, strange, and mystical music on tape, and it was called Dead Can Dance. So that just added to the depth of that whole universe, Scum. I wasn't really part of Scum. I don't really know anything about it. I was involved in it to some degree. I did like one song that never came out. And it came out 15 years later. If Casey Chaos wants to do Scum again, I'm probably going to pass on that because I did. I felt like I wasted my time a bit on it a lot last time. What song is in my head right now, Jack? A song that I'm working on. That is turning out to be very catchy. So that's been in my head to the point of fucking annoyance, actually. Hello, Richard from Chile. My parents and my family's been okay with my music. They weren't really into it in the beginning because of all the craziness that happened at the time. They thought it was a waste of time. I mean, but for many years now, they've realized that it's something that's not going to go away, and I've actually been able to make some money off of it, and there's a few fans out there, so they respect it. JP, as far as I'm concerned, Dead Can Dance are light years better than Mortiis, but I mean that's just me because I'll be my own worst critic, obviously at all times. I don't feel like I could ever get to that level at all in any way, but you know. My favorite Ministry album, that's a little tough because, um, you know, I want to say Psalm 69, but then, as soon as I hear myself say that, I want to say the mind is a terrible thing to taste. And then when I hear myself say that, then I think Filth Peg deserves a shot because it's such a weird, dark, strange album. So it's, again, I think it with Ministry is probably more a question of songs, what, the Stigmata and So What and Just One Fix and all that stuff, and they're from different records. I don't think Varg took any influence from me. I did take a little bit from him because he was doing some of that sort of solo synthesizer-based stuff really early. So I don't know if he understands that, but he did sort of kickstart something there, in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the man, but I will give him credit for being, at least back in those days, he was a pretty influential musician. The Land of Rape and Honey, yeah, it is great. That's like sort of the transitional record, from what was the one before that, Twitch, and before that it was all synthesizer stuff. So the Land of Rape and Honey kind of feels like, it's got one foot in the past and then one foot in the future. So that's pretty cool. I do like that one too. Um, that was in Wax Tracks, wasn't it? I'm not even sure. They might have been on what was that label? They got like a major deal. I keep forgetting. Sire Records or something. Um, Ghost. Um, yeah, it's not really my thing. I haven't heard a whole lot of it. I did hear this one song on the radio that sounded to me like Toto. It was like um, it was radio rock. I like the image, and I can understand why people like it because it's well produced. It's easy to listen to. Um, it's not totally for me. I did meet the band at one point in New Orleans, and they were really nice people. So of course, I feel like I should mention that. It's not that I don't like the music; it's just it's not really what I would pick up personally. Jonas Blomdahl, Kittelsen versus John Bauer. That's difficult. I mean, I would probably go with John Bauer because that's been my passion for a long time, and I kind of feel like I connect more with that. Kittelsen is cool. I really do like the Black Death series. I think Satyricon might have used some of that artwork um, at some point, but I don't know. I just prefer John Bauer. I think it has the atmosphere from a certain time period in John Bauer's life really, really connects with me. So that's what I'm going to go with. Tyler, Dune, I thought the Lynch one, I don't know. I like some Lynch stuff. I'm not sure why he made Dune. Um, they, I wasn't really into it. It's cool, but it's like it kind of drags on forever. Um, but I was much younger when I saw it. I haven't seen a new one yet. I know I can rent it on my Apple TV or some shit like that, and I've been kind of looking at it like maybe I should do that, but I haven't done it. You know, the original one had Sting in it though, didn't it? That's kind of interesting. Metallica, do I think they sold out? I don't know. I don't think anybody sits down in a band meeting and goes, "Hey man, let's sell out." I think it happens. I think popularity happens sometimes, maybe not. I don't think a lot of bands go like, "Okay, guys, it's time to become popular." That's not how it works. It's a sort of right place at the right time with the right album, and I guess Metallica had that with the Black Album. Um, you know, um, Perhaps the question is, did they start playing lamer music after? Even after Master of Puppets, I felt like they started playing much lamer music. That's just my tastes. Again, I don't think they planned on. Okay, guys, it's time to become billionaires. Let's do this now. That just happened. You know what I mean? I'm assuming. Dolly, no, I don't pay attention to anybody new. I'm sorry. The most influential punk album. I mean, that's not for me to say. You should probably talk to somebody like Watty from Exploited or something like that. But I would imagine that anything that came out of proper punk, I would say like anything out of like the late '70s, early '80s, and in the UK, like GBH or maybe some Exploited. Over in the US, I mean, punk was different. I feel it a bit more hardcore in a sense. But you had the Misfits over there, who I don't think were necessarily were they influential as in a punk sense. They weren't. Did they get beaten down by cops? Were they angry at the government? That type of thing. In that sense, I think Dead Kennedys was probably more important. I love the Misfits. I think it's one of the best bands that ever existed, but for a whole different reason. Um, as far as a really cool punk band, I mean, again, I'm going to go back to GBH. I know Quorthon was really inspired by GBH on early Battery. Do I enjoy Toto's soundtrack? I cannot remember. I really can't remember. It's been so many times. Second Mortiis and first Von Go Great Australian Mushrooms. Well, that was the plan. That's my mushroom soundtrack. That was exactly what I set out to do. Billy, yeah, I mean, I think you must have just joined in. The COVID situation affected me just like everyone else. It's got me stuck, unable to tour. The only good thing about it is I spend way more time in the studio, working on music. Brian Smith, all right, Joy Division, New Order, and Shriekback, dude. That's like you never hear about those guys anymore. Um, I think I have like an album or a 12-inch with them that I bought like in a secondhand store and it was really cheap and it looked interesting. It was pretty cool. Joy Division is, of course, that's a great compliment. I'm not exactly sure. Um, that must be just coincidence. When I was making, I didn't start listening to Joy Division until only a few years ago. It sounds weird, right? Um, New Order, of course, everybody knows Blue Monday, and so stuff like that I had in that kind of like electronic dark pop music, from the '80s was something I definitely was kind of connecting with. I was really into Ultravox and things like that. So New Order wasn't that far away. So you know, melodically, I was definitely on songs like "Smell the Witch." There was definitely some influence, some homage to some of those bands, and I think even the chorus line in what is it? You put a hex on me. I think kind of might remind you a little bit about that. Nikki, yes, I have two kids. Yeah, a boy and a girl. Ugh, I'm parched. All right, so I'm gonna hang out for like a few more minutes. It's been almost an hour. Actually, it's been more than an hour because I started early, but I will make it past 11 here. Art of Noise. Yeah, that's been a long time since I heard that. It's a bit more subtle type of experimental music, isn't it? I haven't listened to them in a long, long time, so actually, I can't really. I'm trying to remember the music. It's a little hard. Um, do you inspire yourself to name cosmic keys to that question disappeared? Nikki, advice on giving. What advice would you give a new mother on raising a kid? Ah, shit, I'm the last person you should talk to about that. Um, just don't beat them. I don't think it helps. Uh, and help them with their homework. That's we're starting to learn that we should have been a little better with that now. Um, thank you, Lilith. Rui, is the original Rise to Go? No, it's not available on HD 4K. It's available. It was available on DVD. I know there's going to be a reissue of it because it's sold out. That's all I know. That's the only format that I know they're putting it out on. And if somebody wants to, I don't even know what they have to do to get it to that kind of quality, or if it's worth it. Um, yeah, I do like John Carpenter a lot, and we went to see him live actually in Oslo a few years ago, and he was performing. I think was it the fuck? He was performing that weird one with the wrestler. Um, They Live. It was a show where he performed They Live. I think from start to finish. That was fucking great. That was like a live band too. That was pretty awesome at the Oslo Opera House. That was fucking great. But I love all of his stuff that I've heard. Halloween. I mean, he makes a lot of his own soundtracks together with some guy called Alan something, I think. And Escape from New York, probably my favorite. And The Fog, of course. Even Big Trouble in Little China, which is kind of a cool movie. On the Beatles, I think they were fantastic songwriters. I mean, clearly because you can't make that many people fucking worship you and not have something going on. They're not really my type of thing. I mean, I know back in those days, I think you had to choose between the Stones or the Beatles, and I would have probably picked the Stones, even though I don't think everything the Stones did is that good. But A lot of their stuff is fantastic, I think. So I would lean more towards the Stones if I had to make a choice. But I mean, that said, everybody needs to just understand that they were fantastic songwriters. As far as the team, okay, I've seen you drop this question every time. I just didn't have time to read it. That's three questions in one. I was just a fan, man, and I wanted to be more involved with the underground, and so I decided, since I couldn't play an instrument, I couldn't sing, and there wasn't really any way I could start a band. So, the next best thing was start a magazine and start supporting the bands, and that's what I did. I started writing all these bands, and not all of them got back to me, but a lot of them did, and I ended up doing it for a couple of years. It kind of morphed into the early period in Emperor. The second issue came out probably right after I had joined Emperor. So by that point, I can't remember exactly why I decided not to continue with it, but it was just something I did for a while, to be a supporting fan and be in touch with bands and sort of be on the inside of it. Nikki, as far as my spare time, I don't really have spare time because when I do have spare time, that's when I work on music. So you know, um, I guess that's when I eat food or sleep. Morgan Von Dark, not really because I'm not a writer. I can't really write. I've always wanted to try my hands on comics because I think I could probably do a decent job on that. And I've been talking to people about it for years and years. It's just that I've always been too busy. But it's something in the back of my mind that I would have wanted to do, based it on that whole Mortis fantasy world, and see how that goes. That would have been fucking. I think I would enjoy that. But as far as writing books, nah, it would be like fourth grade level shit. It would just be embarrassing. If Eric would bankrupt, they would just sell the catalog to someone else, and they would be stuck with the next guy. I don't see that. Perhaps my chances of being able to buy it back would increase because if that was ever going to happen, then the next label that bought up all the rights may not have the same sort of attitude about it. So they might be more willing to let me buy it back. I mean, that's the only out that I could see there. But legally, I wouldn't just get it back, I think. Smell the rain. Okay, Billy. Danny, I'm not sure what you refer to, but if it's what I just talked about, yeah, it's what those contracts do to you. If you sign them, and I signed the contract, and it is what it is now. Okay, Uriel, that'll be the last one because I gotta get going after that. But I don't know what my favorite song on the Smell of Rain is. I think most people probably would say Paris I Got. I think probably my favorite song would be quite probably You Put a Hex on Me or Marshland. One of those two. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sick of Paris I Got. Um, so yeah, we're gonna have to take that one next time, Timmy. The questions you ask are super long, and they're usually like five questions in one, so it gets a little hard to answer all of that all the time. But um, yes, Ivan, it is crazy. That's how it is. All right, thanks, guys. So I gotta get going. Appreciate you showing up. I'll talk to you later. All right, see ya.